A senior Scotland Yard officer has been jailed for 3 years after being convicted of misconduct and perverting the course of justice for a second time. Metropolitan Police Commander Ali Desai was found guilty in 2010 of framing a businessman, Wahid Baghdadi, in a street row, but his conviction was later quashed. A jury at Southwark Crown Court today unanimously convicted the 49-year-old at a retrial, ending a police career that had spanned 3 decades.
Now, Scotland Yard has defended its investigations into press malpractice after a senior journalist at the Sun newspaper accused the police of a witch hunt. The paper's assistant editor, Trevor Kavanagh, accused the police of acting disproportionately after 5 Sun journalists were arrested. He wrote, "The Sun is not a swamp that needs draining, yet in what would at any other time cause uproar in Parliament and among civil liberty and human rights campaigners, its journalists are being treated like members of an organised crime gang. They are the subjects of the biggest police operation in British criminal history. Major crime investigations are on hold as 171 police are drafted in to run 3 separate operations." And he concluded, "Nothing on this scale is envisaged for the banking industry, which has brought the nation to the brink of collapse." Well, with me now is the lawyer Charlotte Harris, who represents people who have allegedly had their phones hacked, and Tom Latchem, who used to be the News of the World's TV editor and is now a freelance writer and broadcaster. Well, Tom Latchem, paying police or officials is illegal, so the police are bound to investigate that very thoroughly, aren't they?
Of course, and they have every right to, and they should be doing so. But I'm hearing what some of these people have been arrested for is as minor as buying cups of coffee for police officers. Now, that's not illegal, and it seems to me at the moment to be a fishing expedition on these journalists. And their names are being blackened, they're being hung out to dry by the management, by the management standards committee, Will Lewis, Simon Greenberg at the top here. You know, these are the very people who failed to tell us what we could say when the News of the World was shutting down. You know, I'm impressed at Trevor Kavanagh coming out and saying this, because it must have taken a lot of bottle to come out and say it, because we just didn't know how to deal with this when this was going on at the News of the World, and we were just left hanging.
Well, Charlotte Harris, where does this end? When does the tip fee or the cup of tea, that shouldn't be investigated as part of all this, should it?
There's a massive discrepancy. I've been hearing the stories as well. I think we've probably both been contacted by various people about this. The information that I've got is it's similar to yours. That on one hand, there are allegations of, I think it's spending 50 quid on a meal or something. I don't know if it's true, but maybe that's what you've been hearing. There is a discrepancy between that and £10,000 passing between hands. I spoke to somebody who said that taking money from the police is something that's been going on for years. Yes, of course, it's illegal, and there's always a big difference between something that is, you know, a small amount of money, even though that's illegal, and this, you know, mass conspiracy. But it's a sophisticated form of whistleblowing, going to the police and getting information from them. What you said about the MSC, though, I don't agree with, because having worked alongside the MSC now in dealing with the
committee that
it's a management standards committee, they have been passing over information that we have been spending years and years and years asking for. I know that the phone hacking is different.
So in other words, the company has hung the Sun out to dry, hasn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, don't see there is any way of looking at it. And what I would like to say is this is a real sad day for British journalism, because whether you like the Sun or you don't, the management handing over what we're constantly told by our seniors, you know, your contacts your sources will always remain anonymous. We have a trust. Journalism has a trust between us and our contacts. And now they're handing over these details, and these people get in trouble. What it will do is,
they would say that there are nearly 6,000 potential hacking victims. Really, the company has got to.
They have no choice.
Oh, no, they absolutely, they absolutely have to cooperate.
Simon Greenberg and Will Lewis are doing the best job that they can, they tell us, in terms of passing over information.
They would tell you that, wouldn't they?
Yes, but just in terms of having to cooperate. We've been in a position where we've been to court over 6 years, and, you know, just trying to get this information out there, and finally these emails and so on are coming to us, and we're able to get settlements for people who've had their telephones hacked, and they're taking the same approach in terms of the police documentation. I can understand that there is a feeling of being betrayed, but at the same time, it has to be investigated properly. And the police are, I think, reacting to the criticism last week and their admissions last week that they hadn't done enough.
And I don't think Trevor Kavanagh was saying in his article that he disagreed that it should be investigated. It quite clearly should be investigated. It's the scale of the investigation that seems seems completely over the top.
OK, so is paying the police or public officials, MOD officials, is that ever justified in the public interest?
Well, I mean, absolutely, of course it is. And I mean, are you talking? It is illegal, but not paying. Basically, right? If you look
paying an official a tip fee, that would be OK, would it?
Well, if you look at, for instance, soldiers, right? We often buy their stories. Fascinating, incredible stories of human daring do. Are these people going to now come in? The people who've paid these people are going to be arrested now? It just seems like, where does this stop? A
soldier's and an MOD employee, that's OK,
I'm not
isn't it?
allowed to pay witnesses. And we wouldn't be paying witnesses. So, you know, that's when we first started looking into phone hacking and also the behaviour around it, there were certain people who wanted to come forward and said, well, but what am I going to get for this? And I had to turn around and say, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm not able to give you anything. And they said, oh, but you're all going to make some money and get damages out of this. So I can understand how it happens, but they've got to look into it. And I think the problem with the article is that it did feel somewhat sensationalistic, even though obviously it had its point.
It was the Sun.
How widespread was this at the Sun, this paying police?
I've never worked at the Sun. I mean, I couldn't.
The News International stable.
I was a TV editor. I used to work with showbiz people and that sort of thing. So I literally have no experience. I have no experience whatsoever of talking to police at all.
Tom Latchem, Charlotte Harris, thank you very much.